Welcome to Law Excellence Hindu News Analysis. Today we are going to cover these 5 topics that are appeared in the Hindu newspaper. The topics include Tista Valley issue, another one is about migration, another article is about Competition Commission of India, next is about a speech given by the Chief Economic Advisor Andhra Geswaran, next is about India's vision for a free, open and maritime network. Now coming to the first article. This article is saying that act fast to mitigate a disaster in Tista Valley. Group search PM and CM. Now, what is the context of the news? You know that last year in 2023, there is a glacier lake outburst in Tista Valley, because of which a lot of lives were taken up and livelihoods were damaged, and there are issues of landslides happened in the Tista Valley. Now, this article is saying that the chief ministers or governments of both Sikkim and West Bengal are acting in silos. They are not coordinating and cooperating to address this issue of landslide and glacier lake outburst. Now, another important thing that was mentioned in this article was the monsoon is coming in 2025. Now, these chances of landslide may increase in this area. Now, before that, certain steps has to be taken because there is damage already happened because of the glacier lake outburst that happened in the last year. This led to building up of the debris in the Tista River, and there is a diversion of original channel of Tista rivers. Now, this article is saying that there is a need of rechannelizing the Tista River, which was earlier disrupted by the glacial lake outburst. Now, that is what the point mentioned in this article. Now, other important thing is that now both the government should address this issue of glacial lake outburst in the Sikkim and Darjeeling Himalayas as a single landscape. What does it mean? Rather than working in a silos manner, they should work integrated manner because that is part of a single land Himalayas to address the issue of landslides. And next, the article is mentioned that there is a need of repair and strengthen the damaged roads and bridges. Why it is required? Because of the lack of roads and bridges, there is disruption in the economic activities and trade in the region. Now, this is affecting the livelihoods. And not only that, this article talking about there is a need of deepening and widening and redirecting the river to the safer channels so that there is less flow or can avoid the urban floods, especially to protect the infrastructure in the Tista region. Now, this article is very important, especially from the disaster management perspective, because there are previous year questions asked about glacial lake outburst, right? And not only that, even in the landslides also, you can use these points that are recommended by this news article in your examination. And not only that, in previous year prelims question, there are questions asked about Tista River. We will discuss the prelims facts regarding in the next slide. But before that, see certain points that you can use in your mains examination. See, this article mentioned about need of early warning systems and communication networks if there is emergency happened in the near time. This article also mentioned a suggestion of there is a need of automated early warning systems that can deliver real-time alerts through sirens and mobiles if there is any floods happening. Another important suggestion given by the article was that there is a need of using of ham radios, walkie-talkies operated by the trained personnel for effective communication during the disaster. And there is a need of awareness and risk management campaigns in the region because this region is prone to frequent landslides. And the article mentioned about creation of zones. According development activities can be taken. And this article is also talking about post-disaster and financial recovery support to the people so that they can restore their normalcy in their lives. And the article, one important point mentioned was that to avoid these landslides and the post-landslide disaster or risk reduction, for that there is a need of aggressive afforestation is needed. That is what mentioned in this article. Now, these are the facts you can use in the mains examination. As an example, now we will look into some of the prelims facts regarding Testa River. Now, if you see these questions, these are the two prelims questions that were asked in the previous year prelims. One is asked in 2019, another one is asked about 2017. Now, this was asking like with reference to Testa River, consider the following statements. It is saying that the source of Testa is same as that of Brahmaputra, but it flows through Sikkim. Actually, this statement is wrong. Now, next, River Rangit originates in the Sikkim and it is a tributary of River Testa. Now, yes, this statement is correct. River Tista flows into Bay of Bengal on the border of India and Bangladesh. Again, this statement is wrong. Why? Because Tista River flows into the Brahmaputra River and Brahmaputra River flows into the Bay of Bengal, right? Now, in this way, these two statements are wrong. Only two is the correct answer. Now, from this perspective, you have to know important tributaries, flow of the river from the examination perspective, right? Okay. Now we'll see another question also here, which is something related to the Tista. It is asking about glaciers and rivers. You have to match both of them. Now here the answer is A, 1, 2, and 4. Now why it is given? Because see here Jemu. Jemu is a glacier and Jemu glacier is a source of Tista River. That's why I'm saying studying previous year questions are very important, especially from the prelims perspective. Right? Now in this context, we will see some facts related to the Tista River that can be important from the prelims perspective. Now if you see Tista River is a tributary of the Brahmaputra River. Right? Now, some of the important tributaries of the Tista River are Rangpo, Jemu. Remember this Jemu, this is also a name for glacier. Now, Tista River source is in Jemu Glacier, right? Next, Rangit. This Rangit River was asked here. Okay. Next, Dikchu, Ranikola. Now, Dikchu River is also important because recently the landslides happened in this area in Sikkim. Now, this Tista River originates in Himalayas near Sikkim. Now, remember this was asked in the prelims, right? He said the Tista River is same as that of Brahmaputra first. No, actually this is wrong. Now here see, it was originating in the Himalayas near Sikkim. Now next, Tista River flows to the south through West Bengal before entering Bangladesh. Now you have to remember that in India there are two states in which it was flown by Tista. They are Sikkim and West Bengal. You have to remember those things. Next, Tista River water conflict is still not solved between India and Bangladesh. This is the fact you have to remember. You can use them in the GS paper too. Next, Jemu Glacier is a source of water to the Tista River. Now, this is what I said here in this question. Now, in this way, any river that is mentioned in the news article that can be important from both prelims and mains perspective. Okay. Now, coming to the next article. Now, this article is saying that a snapshot of distress migration in Odisha. Now, the context of the news is that this news article is saying that around 17 lakh people migrated to various states from Odisha. Now, this migration is majorly due to the distress and desperation for livelihoods and employment. Now, in this context, a task force has been set up by the Odisha government to address the issues of migrants and also provide certain recommendations to overcome the issues faced by the migrants. Now, the task force faced a problem, that is lack of data about the migrants. Now, from the examination perspective, this article is important. Now, you can use this article information in multiple papers. For example, if you see GS paper 1, there is a syllabus topic population and associated issues. Now, in this context, in GS paper 1, there is a previous year question asked, discuss the changes in the trends of labor migration within and outside India in the last 4 decades. Right? Now, in this way, this is relevant to the GS paper 1. Now, in the GS paper 2, you can use this in the syllabus topic of poverty and hunger. Why? Because in this article, it is mentioned that the migration is major reason is that poverty is the main reason for migration. Now, this can be used in GS paper 2 in another syllabus topic, that is government's policies and interventions. Now, for policy making, there is a lack of data. Now, this is an example that you can use in this syllabus context also. Now, in this way, you can smartly integrate one syllabus news into the multiple papers. Right? Now, we will see the news mentioned in this article. Now, the task force found that there are many people who left with no viable means to maintain their life with dignity. Now, hence, in this context, people are in desperation to get some money and hence they are migrating. Now, why they are migrating? Because it is said that in Odisha, majority of the people's livelihood is based on the agriculture sector. But now, agriculture sector productivity is reduced. And particularly in Odisha, there is prevalence of heat waves in Ganjam districts, cyclones in Kendrapada region. Now, climate vulnerability is very much high in this area because of the climate change and global warming. And not only that, majority of the farmers are small and marginal. And most of the farmers are having less than 1 acre or around only 1 acre land. Hence, they have less chances of prosperity. Now, interestingly, this task force find one of the important thing is that though there are people migrating, this doesn't lead to any prosperity among those families. They said that it does not lead to any lasting benefits for the returns. They are again trapped in the poverty cycle. Now, this is indicating that there is an exploitation of migrants in urban areas and rural areas by the landlords. Now, this is what the mentioned by the article. And the important thing that the article mentioned was that most of the people who migrated, that is around 80%, belong to the backward caste, such as scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and other backward castes. Now, this indicating the social, economic, and cultural angle in distress migration. Now, this is what the context of the news and the article is saying. Now, you can use this article multiple perspectives, as it is said before, like GS1, GS2 in multiple syllabus segments. Okay. Now, we'll move to the next article. Now, this article is saying that Meta to appeal Competition Commission of India's 213 crore fine on WhatsApp privacy policy change. Now, this is the context of the news. The context of the news is saying that recently Competition Commission of India imposed fine on Meta, a parent company of WhatsApp, a fine of around 200 crores. Now, the Meta company is not accepting the allegation. They are saying that we will appeal this statement. Now, this is the context of the news. Now, in this context, CCI as an organization, as a statutory body, is very important from the examination perspective. Why? In GS paper 2, it is clearly mentioned that the syllabus topic statutory bodies, right? And not only that, if you see previous year questions, it was clearly asking about the Competition Commission of India. Now, if you see 2023 itself, it was asking a question: discuss the role of Competition Commission of India in containing the abuse of dominant position by the multinational corporations in India. Now, this is what the question that was asked in the previous years. Now, in this context, discussing this Competition Commission of India, both from the prelims and mains perspective, is very important from the examination. Now, before going into the mains context, let us see some points regarding the prelims perspective. Now, if you see Competition Commission of India is a statutory body. Remember, UPSC has a habit of asking whether a body is statutory or constitutional, right? It was a statutory body enabled under the Competition Commission Act of 2002. Now, there is a previous year PYQ prelims statement which given that Competition Commission of India is established by replacing the Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act of 1969. Yes, this statement is true. Now, this is based on the recommendations of Raghavan Committee. Now, UPSC has a habit of asking about committees, whether it is recommended or not. Yes, it is true. Now, Competition Commission of India is a quasi-judicial body. Why? Yes, it has adjudication authority also. Next, it has headquarters in Delhi. Now, UPSC may ask this also because in previous year, if you see that where is the tea board located, coffee board located, something like that, right? Now, remember this headquarters also. Now, it consists of a chairperson and 6 members appointed by central government. Now, chairperson is not minister or anyone because UPSC may ask that the chairperson of CCI is some minister or something like that. No, the chairperson majorly a bureaucrat or someone like that. Now, appeals. Now, CCI imposed a fine on Meta. Now, where the Meta will appeal? Yes, the appeal of CCI will rise to NCLAT, that is National Complaint Appellate Tribunal. Now, if you are not satisfied with the decision of this NCLAT also, you can go to the Supreme Court. Now, this is what the stages of Competition Commission of India. Now, we will see certain things from the mains perspective also. See, why Competition Commission of role is important because you know that Article 19 that gives freedom of trade and occupation. Now, in this context, everyone has their freedom to conduct their business, right? Now, this is what the rights of the business people. Now, what is the consumer rights? There is a consumer rights also. We buy the products and we need competitive prices, right? So for that, there is need of fair trade practices. No, CCI maintain that balance of interest between both consumers and business groups, both within the business groups also, because certain business people have more capital and have more leverage. No, to avoid this abuse of dominant positions, CCI play a crucial role in maintaining the level playing field. Now, this is what the purpose of the CCI. Now, we will see from the mains perspective what is the role and what are the challenges faced by the CCI. Now, what are the broader functions of the Competition Commission of India? The first important function is regulating the mergers and acquisitions. That means if any big company is acquisition taking over the company, a small company, it will be observed by the Competition Commission of India. That is, it is not abusing its position of power. And second one is that it has to accept the important measures. For example, recently, Competition Commission of India approved the merger of Reliance Industries and the Walt Disney Company in the entertainment industry. Next important thing is investigating the anti-competitive practices. This investigation can be done by the suo motu or based on the complaint. Example, it investigated a case of Google Play Store in which it is saying that Android companies should allow Play Stores other than the Google Play Store. Other important thing is market studies and research, especially regarding the digital economy. Now, the economy and the governance of almost all the countries is going digitalizing, right? In this way, the transactions are also going digitalizing. Now, in this way, there is a lot of studies and research are required for the digital economy. Next important thing is handling complaints. It will handle the complaints, especially by the association. For example, recently, Restaurants Association complained CCI about the Zomato and Swiggy, in which it said that Zomato and Swiggy listing certain sellers on priority by having agreement with them, and this lead to anti-competitive practices because smaller retailers are having disadvantage in this, are not getting any profit. Now, this is what the example you can quote here. Now, next, adjudication and penalty imposition. Now, just now we have seen that it imposed around 200 crore fine on Meta for WhatsApp privacy policy. Now, these are the general functions. Another important function is that It has a role in protecting the domestic companies also by preventing abuse of the foreign MNCs, as foreign MNCs has a lot of foreign capital, right? Now, things like that. These are the functions of the CCA. Now, there are certain challenges that CCA can face, especially in the evolving business ecosystem, right? CCA has to balance this ease of doing business and fair business practices, right? Now, digital business, why? Because of increasing globalization, advancement of technology, and development of AI, now business are all more in the online space. Now, marketing is online, producing services is online, right? In this context, new technologies, new terms, and being relevant to the new consumer demands is very much important. For example, there is a case recently that Amazon is listing few sellers and their products in the Amazon in which consumer preferring them. Now, this is one of the issue. Now, digital business ecosystem should be adopted by the Competition Commission of India. Now, another important thing is that data privacy and antitrust concerns. As business are going online, consumers are providing a lot of data to the business in the process of registering, buying, and selling the products. Now, these data can be misused by the companies. Now, there is proper strong data protection law in India. Now, in this context, it is really difficult for the CCA to manage these issues of data privacy. Next, a large part of the economy is informal in nature. Now, in this context, the transactions are also informal. Hence, Competition Commission of India may not address the issues of this informal small MSME business. Now, the dominance of few tech giants and data monopolization. Now, few tech giants are there in which they cannot be controlled that much easily because they are contributing to the employment, GDP growth. Hence, their practices are very difficult to observe, monitor, and control by the CCA. Now, there is a lack of cross-country alignment, especially regarding the loss of business. Now, business are globalized, especially after the LPG 1991, right? Now, in this country, there is a need of element of cross-country laws regarding the business to address the issues of this competition. Now, hence, the CCA need to balance the interests of both consumers' interest, ease of doing business, privacy concerns, overall to ensure the business ecosystem and ensure that India is a most favored investment destination. Now, we will move to the next article. Now, this article is saying that India's vision for free open maritime network is finding resonance across the world. Now, this is what the statement said by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a thought leadership summit, which is called as Sagar Manthan. This is also called as the Great Oceans Dialogue. This was organized by the Minister of Shipping, Ports, Waterways in partnership with the Observer Research Foundation. Now, in this summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended in online. In this online summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said certain statements, especially regarding maritime domain. Now, you can use these statements in your mains answer, especially in GS paper 2 and GS paper 3. Why? If you see previously questions in GS paper 2, it was asked about maritime sea. Sea is an important component of the cosmos. Discuss in the light of the above statement the role of IMO, International Maritime Organization, in protecting the environment and enhancing the maritime cooperation. Now, maritime domain as such is important from the GS paper 2. Now, see GS paper 3. It was asked that what are the maritime security challenges in India? Now, discuss the organizational, technical, procedural initiatives taken to improve the maritime security. Hence, maritime domain as such is important from the examination perspective, both from GS2 and GS3. Now, the statement said by the Prime Narendra Modi, you can use them in the examination that can add value to your answers, right? Now, Prime Minister said that oceans are the shared heritage for the nations and societies. Now, this is what said by the Prime Minister. Now, he also said that India enhanced the port efficiency by reducing the turnaround times, strengthen the last mile connectivity. Now, he also mentioned that in today's world, security and prosperity of the nations is intimately connected to the oceans. Now, in this context, he said that recognizing the potential of the oceans, both from economy, geological, and geopolitical perspective, is very important. Now, he said that India has the vision of free, open, and secure maritime network. Now, this can be resembled in India's vision of Sagar, security and growth for all in the region. Mission Maritime 2047. Now, these visions are in aligned with the global vision also. Now, this is becoming resonance across the world. It is being increasingly accepted by the nations. Now, that is what mentioned by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And not only that, he also highlighted certain important things such as India has a rich maritime legacy. Now, this can be seen in the Lothal, Dholavira, which are the ancient ports, which are the symbols of cultural heritage. And he also said that ancient kings such as Chola dynasty has a significant fleet in the ocean, such as There is a rule of Cholas that has been established in Southeast Asia, which has even examples today. Now, in this context, he highlighted that India has a significant contribution regarding the free, open, and maritime network. Now, in this context, we will see certain things from the main perspective regarding maritime domain awareness. Now, if you see what is the significance and importance of maritime domain. Now, if you see the trade and commerce. Now, India, 90% of the trade by volume, 70% by value is happening to the maritime. And not only that, at the world level also, significantly 50 to 60% important energy security trade route is passing through the oceans such as Indian Ocean and Indo-Pacific. Now, in this context, from the trade perspective and from the perspective of economic integration and development, a secure, open ocean space is very much required. And next important thing is natural resources. Now, you may have heard about competition in the Arctic Ocean, right? Now, this is what the competition for the crude oil, natural gas, polymetallic nodules, rare earth metals. All these are the important natural resources that are present in the ocean. Now, in this context, there is increasing competition. Hence, a peaceful ocean region is very much required. Next important thing is energy security. Now, it is mentioned that India itself is procuring its 85% requirement of crude oil from the imports, 60% of the requirement of natural gas from the imports, and these imports are happening through the maritime trade, right? Now, in this context, not only India, many of the regions are also procuring through the maritime import. Now, in this context, for the energy security also, a safe ocean space is very much required. Next, geopolitical importance. What does it mean? Now, we often hear about string of pearls policy of China, and not only that, choke points such as Malacca Strait, Strait of Hormuz, Suez Canal. Now, there we have seen that political instability often this lead to supply chain disruptions, right? Now, in this context, a safe Indian Ocean and Indo-Pacific region is very much important from the geopolitical perspective also. Now, especially India is in the center of the Indian Ocean region. Now, there are securities such as India is being surrounded by the infrastructure projects, especially by the China. China already seen increase its presence in the naval bases such as Sri Lanka, Iran, things like that. These are from the perspective of geopolitical perspective. Now, security challenges. What is meant by security challenges? Now, we often hear that about maritime terrorism, right? Now, in 2018 terrorist in India, it is found that terrorists have entered India through porous borders of maritime. And not only that, there is an issue of drug trafficking, human trafficking that is happening to the sea trade. And not only that, recently there is an issue of piracy, especially by the Houthi rebels and Somalian pirates happening in the Indian Ocean region. Now, we have seen that India conducted many operations to save the fleet of vessels, right? Now, these are all the importance of maritime trade. Now, another important thing is environmental concerns. Now, you may have heard about recently oil spills, dead zones, and death of coral reefs, coral bleaching, ocean acidification. Now, all these are the environmental concerns that are happening because of the increasing carbon footprint of the maritime trade, right? Next, cultural and historical significance. Just now, the Modi also mentioned that India has significant maritime tradition historically since ancient times, and Lothal and Dolavera ports are the significant manifestation of today. Now, these are the importance of multifaceted importance of Indo-Pacific region and navigable Indian Ocean. And not only that, these things are aligning with India's emphasis on blue economy, right? Blue economy, Sagar policy, things like that. Now, what can be the challenges for this? Now, just now we have mentioned that there is a issue of piracy. Now, recently, a lot of pirate incidents happened in the Indian Ocean region, especially near the Red Sea, right? In the context of the Israel war. Now, next, maritime terrorism. Now, terrorism, especially terrorists infiltrating using the maritime borders because of the porous in nature. Now, another issue is unreported and unregulated illegal fishing. Now, it is being said that there is an issue of bottom trawling. Now, which is ecologically destructive practice regarding fishing. Now, this can damage the seagrass beds, coral reefs, etc. Now, this is against the biodiversity conservation in the marine ecosystem, right? Now, there are issues of territorial disputes, especially in the South China Sea regarding 9-dash line. And also, even in the Indian Ocean, there is an issue of Kachativu Island, right? Between India and Sri Lanka. Now, all these are the territorial disputes that has to be solved to ensure that there is a seamless maritime trade. Now, another important issue is just now we have mentioned about sovereignty concerns. There is a lack of proper delineation about the what is constituted as a maritime border. Especially now, we can see that in Kachtivo Island issue. Now it is being said that Indian fisherman is entering into the waters of the Sri Lanka. Now around more than 100 people were arrested by the Sri Lanka, especially fisherman community. Now environment threat, just now we discussed about the environmental threats, and trafficking is also happening, and drug trafficking especially now. Recently, if I have seen in Gujarat port area, many around more than 500 kg drugs were caught, especially by the NCB, Narcotic Control Bureau. Now these are all challenges regarding the maritime domain. Now, what are the measures taken both at international level and national level? Now, we will see that. First and foremost, the legal framework. Now, internationally, there is a legal framework called United Nations Convention for Law of the Sea, in which there is a demarcation of territorial waters, exclusive economic zones, so that to avoid any disputes with the other neighboring countries. And this can enable the countries to allow their own exploitation of natural resources, etc. Now, next important thing is international cooperation and coordination through maritime diplomacy. What does it mean? This includes negotiations, discussions, cooperation between the countries, dialogues. Example, Indian Ocean Rim Association, in which countries are cooperating and sharing their best practices in conservation of maritime domain. Another important thing is maritime domain awareness. That is national command control communication and intelligence network. Now, this is used with the help of radars, communication satellites such as under GSAT, in which it is observing the fleet of maritime trade and also providing information regarding the suspicious activities in the marine areas. Now, next important thing is that humanitarian assistance. Now, India taken many steps. Example, Operation Rahat in Yemen, Operation Samudra Setu during COVID time, in which it is providing disaster relief and in important supplies. Now, India is being a first responder, right, in the Indian Ocean region. Now, in this context, these are the operations are the examples for that. Next, capacity building. India is building operational and technical capacities in terms of building submarines, fleet vessels, etc. Example, INS Arigat recently seen, INS Vikramaditya. All these are the things in this regard. Next, international cooperation. Now, we have seen many international naval exercises, etc., such as Malabar exercise. Right? All these are the military level cooperation between the countries to ensure freedom of navigation in the ocean regions. Now, there is a dialogue about Colombo conclaves to ensure safety and security in the Indian Ocean region. Now, another important thing for aggregating the data about the sea trade is Indian Ocean Rim Association, Indian Ocean Information Fusion Center, which was established in India, Gurugram. Now, this shares information regarding the trade, any trafficking, any piracy event using the radars, etc., in the Indian Ocean region, and the information can be shared across the countries which are members of this. Right now, these are the measures that have taken. Now, keep these points in mind. These are the bullet points that you can use in your mains examination. Right, this adds value to your answers. Now, coming to the next article. Now, this article is saying that India need to prioritize higher exports and lower the energy bills to ensure that there is sustained growth rate of around 7 to 8%. Now, this is what said by the Chief Economic Advisor Ananda Nageshwaran. Now, in a conference recently, Ananda Nageshwaran said that globally there is a political instability. There are wars. There are supply chain disruptions, right? Now, because of this, globally the volume of trade is reduced. Now, this is a cause of concern as per him, because he said that if we see India's history, if the global trade is improving, India's trade, especially in terms of exports, is also increasing. That is what he said. Now, he also highlighted that decade of 2003 to 2014 is very impressive for India because it is significantly improved India's exports in aligning with the global trade. Now, he had certain apprehensions because he said that presently, because of the instability, protectionist measures taken by the country, now exports may not have grown that much level in this decade because of the political disruption, supply chain measures, all these things. Now, global export growth is reducing in terms of at volume level. That is what he is saying. Now, in this context, he said that export growth would be difficult. Now, another important thing highlighted was that many countries are focusing on domestic production, self-reliance, such as we have a program called Make in India for the World, friendshoring and onshoring. Now, you can use these words friendshoring and onshoring in GS paper 2 as a keywords that adds value to your answers. What is meant by friendshoring? That means procuring raw materials, manufactured goods and services from the countries that are allied to us or that share values similar to us. That is what friendshoring. And onshoring is also similar to that, which means reverting back to manufacturing of goods and services to the original country of the company. For example, we may have seen that issues of Ford is removed from India or going back to their own country, things like that. Now, these are what the issues highlighted on apprehension. Now, these comments are very much important in the context because Donald Trump said that there are certain countries which are tariff abusers, especially China, and India is no less than that. This is what said by the Trump once. Now, another important thing is that the CEA, Chief Economic Advisor, mentioned that India may not follow the green rules strictly because globally developed countries are not following this rule of CBDR that has accepted in the Paris Agreement. What is CBDR? CBDR means common but differential responsibilities, in which there is an obligation on the developed countries to transfer the technology and invest in developing countries. These two things are not happening at the present. Now, because of which the green transition technologies are becoming costlier. In this, the cost of business and industries in production of goods and services is going to increase. Now, in this context, the goods from the developing countries such as India may be not competitive of that much level. Now, this may increase domestic electricity prices. Now, this increasing prices lead to increasing price of goods from the industries, especially from developing countries like India. Now, he also said that there is need to focus on domestic electricity generation distribution reforms so that the energy generated is of less price and competitive for the industries. Now, this is what the article mentioned. In a crux, in one line, he said that there is a need to prioritize higher exports and lower energy bills, especially industrial energy bills, to ensure that there is a sustainable growth rate of 6 to 8%, which is required for India. Now, this is what the article. Now, where you can use this? You can use this in GS paper 2. The words like friendshoring and offshoring, this can be used in GS paper 2. In GS paper 3, if any question asks about exports and the energy, climate change, conservation, things like that, you can use this CBDR, increase of costly of technology, especially green transition technology, things like that. Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day.